And welcome everybody to today's exciting episode.
Yeah, buddy!
And it's an exciting one for everybody listening because this is another one of your episodes.
All for you.
Yeah, we thought we'd do a little one of our followers' emails, people who've sent us emails, expanding on some of the subjects that we've explored in the past.
Yeah.
And sometimes some new subjects.
Yeah, some spooky stories.
Spooky stories, yeah, we got a couple of those. Shall I dive in with the first one?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so this is an email from, a chain of emails, in fairness, from Ted from America, Minnesota. I think it was. And it took, to start it off, he just said, dropping you a line to say, keep up the good work. I recently found your show while we've been moving house. I burned all through my other podcasts that I normally listen to. He says he mostly listens to comedy, but he really enjoys how our show is a blend of humour, open-mindedness, but not overly serious consideration of the paranormal and relaxed chat. So thank you very much, Ted.
Thanks, Ted.
A nice compliment there. He said he dipped his toes into a few other shows of a similar nature, a few other paranormal podcasts, but nothing really fit the bill for him. Then he found ours, and he said, if you keep your friendly and simple format, I'll be a loyal listener and sometimes viewer for years to come. So I guess he checks us out on YouTube every once in a while.
I hope he's still listening.
Yeah, I hope he is. I hope he's still enjoying the podcast. We did have, like I say, a chain of emails where he told me about a few of his experiences and that sort of thing.
Yes, Ted goes back to the sleep episode. Is that the one?
Yes. Well, he sent us an email about the sleep. He said, I just listened to the sleep paralysis night terrors show, and you were looking for people who had been through that. He said, in general, I don't sleep very well. I've had stretches of insomnia and rarely wake up feeling rested. I snore just enough to annoy my wife. I dream vividly and sometimes lucidly. I fairly often will talk in my sleep as if I'm at work, speaking with co-workers. This is during particularly stressful periods at work, and my wife registers those, including one night where she jumped in to be the other party in an animated extended conversation I was having with which I have no memory of. That would be quite a weird one, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
He says, in addition to that, I have experienced several sleep paralysis episodes since my mid-20s, so about the last 10 years. Most commonly, they happen in the middle of the night, or very early morning, never when it's time to actually wake up. I sense and see an adult-sized shadowy figure. I can't make out any features, but it typically lingering in the doorway to the bedroom, looking at me, and sometimes slowly approaching the bed. I try to reach my arms out to push away the intruder and then become aware that I can't move. So I try to shout at them to get away, but I can't make a sound. Then my shouting changes to cries for help to try wake up my wife, but I'm still not able to make a sound. For the most part, this doesn't end with me waking up. I guess I just fall back to sleep fully and then I'm aware of it once I do wake up later. Anytime I've gone through this, I've never been able to make a sound. Sleep paralysis is definitely not fun, he says, which is why I tried to figure out what might have been causing it when I started experiencing it more frequently. I had started a habit where I worked on crossword puzzles before bed, and that seemed to elevate the problem and be a big trigger when they dropped off dramatically. Not completely, but quite a lot after I stopped doing that. So while the shadowy figure might seem paranormal, I can't explain why that would be a constant. I think there is more to the idea that part of your brain is simply staying active while the rest of it is in sleep mode.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the most sort of commonly held theory, isn't it, with the sleep paralysis particularly. But I always think those hallucinations, they're so consistent between people all around the world.
Yes.
You know, how do people experience that same experience if... I mean, technically, I suppose if it is an internal brain trigger, then it would, I guess, trigger the same hallucinations. But something about sleep paralysis just screams there's got to be something a little bit more to it to me. What do you think?
To play devil's avocado, it could be similar to, you know how everyone has similar dreams where you get your teeth pulled out, or you're running from something, or you're falling off
a cliff,
something.
yeah.
It could be something similar with that, where, I mean, when you think about nightmares and night terrors and stuff, most of the time it is ghosts or kind of demon things or being chased.
Yeah.
So I put it down to that. It could just be everyone has these similar things. Actually, that's a very good point that you just said. Why are they all so similar?
Yeah, I mean,
it doesn't.
And here's another question. I'd never really thought about it until now, literally just now. Is do these things only happen once you're sort of entering your adult years, and you like he said, it started in his 20s, when you've maybe had the experience, you know what ghosts are or what they're meant to be if you don't believe in them or whatever, but you know, it's still a scary thing, isn't it? You know, being confronted by the unknown and the way that manifests itself into a shadowy figure or a demon, or, you know, some people see particularly old ladies, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a very good point, because you don't really watch horror films as a child.
No.
I don't know many kids that got to watch those.
And how many children actually have sleep paralysis? I don't know. Is there a statistic on that we could look up?
Yeah, because I suppose if a child hasn't seen anything scary, I don't suppose they would have that sleep paralysis with like a scary
with the hallucination. No,
I don't think their brains would be able to think of that because they haven't seen that.
Yeah, you can only be scared of something that you've experienced, can't you?
Yeah, that is odd.
Yeah, it's an odd one.
I mean, the whole idea. I mean, obviously, I've had night terrors, but not sleep paralysis.
Yeah,
but it sounds like Ted was really paralyzed. If you can't speak, you can't move.
And that must be terrifying. And like literally lay in bed next to your wife, trying like anything to wake her up, trying to move, trying to shout, trying to anything, and they're just, you know, completely unaware of your absolute terror. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's
the one that baffles me even more is sleepwalking.
Right.
Like, I don't know. I don't think it quite happens like in Step Brothers, you know, throwing things and putting stuff in the oven. But I have seen some videos where people are just having full-on conversations and there's no one there, and they're getting up and going to the kitchen.
Yeah.
They're like stirring a spoon in a cup, but there's no water or anything in it. They're just kind of thinking that they're making a cup of tea and having a conversation with their mum or whatever. And that baffles me more, like sleepwalking, how you can be asleep but be even more active.
Yeah, and your eyes are open as though you're totally wide awake. And just, I remember I had an ex-girlfriend years ago. Her little brother was bad for sleepwalking, and he'd get up in the middle of the night to go to the loo or something like that. He'd hear something downstairs, and it's her little brother just like making a sandwich completely asleep in the kitchen.
That is nuts. Is sleep eating a thing? Do people eat?
I guess it must be, because he was making a sandwich. That was the one time I found him, anyway.
Or he's just pretending to be asleep, like he's just really hungry.
Well, I walked in and I called his name, and he just didn't react.
Yeah.
And then he just carried on buttering his bread. And then when he turned around to walk to the fridge, he just got this really vacant look on his face, and he looked straight through me as though I wasn't even there, you know?
They do say you shouldn't wake up a sleepwalker.
They say that. I don't know why, though.
I don't know. Because when I have night terrors, and my wife she recognises the signals now. Mm-hmm. So she kind of has worked out that if she calls my name really loud or kind of like shakes me a little bit, it'll wake me up just before it gets really bad.
Okay.
So she's recognised the triggers. But for sleepwalking, I have no idea why you can't wake them up.
No.
Well, they say that you shouldn't anyway, but I don't know.
I think if I was sleepwalking, it doesn't happen to me. I'm not it's not something that often happens to me. I don't suffer from it. But I think I'd rather somebody wake me up so that I know that it's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. It's so odd. But also, while we're on the subject of sleep, I was talking to my auntie Rhonda not too long ago, and she told me that pretty much everyone on my dad's side of the family, including my dad, which I only recently found out as well, we all suffer from insomnia.
Oh, right.
And I'd always kind of wondered how I'm able to function on like 4 or 5 hours sleep a night, but I never put it down to insomnia because I always thought insomnia was like an hour here, an hour there.
No, it's just because obviously they recommend 8 hours of sleep per night, and anything less than that is detrimental to your body and you know your state of health and your brain and that sort of thing. But I have heard that most billionaires also have this trait that you've got, where they can only sleep 3 or 4 hours a night.
Oh.
And so they'll get up at like ridiculous o'clock in the morning, like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and they'll, do their emails and, do all that sort of thing. And they've done like 4 or 5 hours work before they even have breakfast with their family and then go off and do the rest of their day's work, And it's just one of these things that apparently a lot of billionaires have that exact same trait. So who knows, Josh? You might be on for some good things.
Maybe I'll become a billionaire one day.
Who knows?
But no, I just found that very fascinating that insomnia, like I said, I always thought it was like 1 hour, but no, turns out it could be 3, 4, 5 hours.
Yeah. It's just an irregular sleep pattern, really, isn't it? I think?
Yeah. I think I read somewhere as well that humans are actually programmed to have 2 4-hour sleeps.
Yes.
Not
I've
one
heard that.
long stint. And so I don't know if it's a load of rubbish. Maybe if we've got any Spanish listeners, they can tell us.
Oh, the siesta.
Yeah, I heard that's why we have siesta in Spain, is because they adapted that whole 4 hours and then 4 hours later on.
Yeah, probably, but also because it gets very hot in the middle of the day in Spain in the summer.
Yeah.
So they tend to break up their working day. They'll start quite early in the morning, like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. They'll work through until 11 or 12, and then they'll have 3 or 4 hours off, and then they'll go back to work, and they'll work until 8 or 10 o'clock at night. So it's just a complete different culture. But
And speaking of hot weather, it's very hot.
It is very hot today here in the studio.
Yeah.
And we did actually remember to turn off the air conditioning this time, which makes us suffer more, but it gives you better sound quality.
Yes.
So I'll move on to the next email. This one was from Elliot. He's from right here in the UK.
Big up the UK.
He again also he's found us very similarly. He said that he recently stumbled across our podcast while searching for one on Spotify that talks about subjects such as the paranormal and UAPs or UFOs, like we do. He said, I gave a few a try, but they all seem to be roughly the same. However, when I found yours, I was instantly hooked, and I binged every single episode you have in a week.
That's commitment.
That is commitment. I'm fair play, Elliot. I mean, that is well done. That is some go. And we at the time, we'd have got, I think it was 43 episodes he did in a 1 week.
1 week.
That's some good going.
You know what? I salute that.
I salute it as well.
Yeah.
It's double
well
salute.
Well done, Elliot.
But yeah, after a couple of emails, he did open up to me a little bit. He said, hi, Pirate, thanks for getting back to me. Yeah, I'm absolutely hooked on your podcast. I listen at work via headphones and at home when the little one's in bed. Did you do anything else that week?
All of those episodes in a week.
Good grief. But anyway, yeah, he does say this is a bit of a long story. Sorry in advance, but we like a long story.
Yeah.
That's all good. So he says, as a kid, I had a few encounters with ghosts. I used to see a man in a bowler hat leaning on an umbrella just chuckling away. He only seemed to appear in the corner of my eye when I had a bad day. He'd sit there just chuckling at me. I saw my friend's granddad as a weird cloud apparition in my old bedroom, but this story about the photo is what's really swayed me to believe. So my mum had a friend whose baby passed away, unfortunately, very young, and she had a photo of her with the baby. For days, my mum would say there's this weird shadow in the photo, and every day the shadow would look different, i.e. a different position, a different shape. My skeptic head thought it's just the lighting in the room and the way she's holding the photo, but it terrified her. So much so, she hired a priest to bless her house because she had nightmares and weird paranormal activity in the house ever since the photo was in her possession. Things would move on their own, the door would slam and footsteps on the stairs. She got that scared that she made me take the photo outside and burn it. I didn't honestly believe her at all. I thought she was just being ridiculous and over the top. That's until I burnt the photo. This gets strange, I will say. So I lit the edge with a lighter. Being cocky, I was winding her up, saying things like, "Oh, yeah, there's a creepy demon being burnt. Yeah, it's real, this, definitely." He said I was being so sarcastic. But the photo didn't burn. The flame was around the very edge of the corner, licking up the photo, but not going to the centre, nor was the photo burning. It was bizarre. And then, all of a sudden, similar to when you burn a crisp packet, it just shriveled up really quickly. And the photos don't burn that way.
No, photos definitely don't burn that way.
No, but this one did. And he said, as it did, my head jolted upwards and I passed out. I woke up on the floor and was pretty shaken up. Not because I passed out, but because of what I saw when I did. This sounds really silly and very few people believe this happened. I sometimes feel embarrassed to say. But as my head jolted up, my vision blurred and I was suddenly underneath some spiral stairs looking up to a body in a white dress falling towards me. A lady hanging herself.
Ugh.
I was underneath, looking up as her body fell towards me and became tight on the rope.
Oh, what a horrendous
When
thing
I
to
came
say.
round, my mum noticed I had a red line across the side of my neck. It was burning and stung a lot. I have no idea how it got there, and it took me a while to process the event. I'll never ever get that image out of my head. It shook me for weeks. I've had a few encounters since that day, but none as vivid as that. Thank you for reading about my experience, Pirate and Josh. I'm excited for the next episode.
Well, that is creepy. That is creepy. Out of all the things to see, I think that is up there with that would scar you.
That is, I don't even know where to begin trying to explain that one. I mean,
yeah.
How does a photograph link a dead baby to a woman hanging herself?
Yeah. It's weird. Maybe
Particularly, he didn't mention that the mother of the child had done anything like that or anything.
Yeah, I can't work out the connection there. But I do believe him, because for him to be taunting his mum and everything, he obviously at that point didn't believe any of it. And then to all of a sudden 360 and now he's a believer. It must have happened.
It must have shaken him to the core.
He must have seen something. Well, he did. So
he did, yeah.
And,
but I just don't even know how to even begin explaining that one. I mean, it could be that the ghost of the dead lady is what caused the cot death, or something like that, or I mean, how do you link that? I mean, I don't want to be disrespectful to their family, or to anybody involved with this story, but I mean, those are some strange circumstances, and the fact that the photo didn't burn. I mean,
yeah, even in house fires you get photos that burn and things like that, but the fact that it's shriveled up like a crisp packet.
Yeah, I mean, the glossy side of a photo won't burn as well, but it'll still burn. Well, once you've got the backing going, that's it. It just burns up like any other piece of paper, really, doesn't it? It certainly doesn't shrivel up like a plastic crisp packet.
Cursed photo. Gotta be.
Must be.
But I'm going to give that an 8.4.
Are we doing individual paranormality ratings? Okay.
I just thought that Elliot's story deserved one, to be honest, because I did get a few Like little
I
goose
honestly got
bumps.
tingles read the first.
Yeah.
Do you remember when I read that out to you the first time at work when
Yeah,
we were sat
yeah.
in the tractor together?
And we were like, this is weird.
I did, every time I read that email, I get tingles going down my spine.
Yeah.
It's a strange one. You are definitely up. I'm going to give it a 9.2.
9.2.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to work the average out on that.
We don't need to. But that is a very good story. Thank you very much, Elliot, because obviously Elliot and Ted both gave their consent for me to read out their emails and share their stories. So, and obviously, huge respect to them for that, because it does take guts to share that kind of story, both of those kind of stories.
Yes.
And know that that's going to be out there for the whole internet to listen to.
Yeah, and we've spoke about it before, how there's a lot of ridicule and there's a lot of judgment when it comes to people that believe in ghosts or they say they've seen something. And I think in 2023, I was saying to you earlier, my mind is so much more open now since doing the podcast and speaking to people and reading emails and things, that I don't think... There's no way all of it can be a load of rubbish. There has to be some truth in it if people are having all these stories, because what do they gain from lying about these things?
Like you said before, where there's smoke, there's fire.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just so easy to ridicule people over this kind of thing. So it does take a lot of courage to write in and tell stories and stuff like that. And even when I talk about the weird experiences that I've had and things like that, a part of me is still like, did I see that? Oh, I don't know. It was probably smoke, or it was, you know.
Sometimes I think you need that outside influence to help convince you.
Yeah.
Because obviously Ted there, he has the sleep paralysis, and he's saying, I'm not sure if the visions or the hallucinations are real, or whether it is just part of your brain or what. I mean, it's still brave of him to share that story, but I mean that one with passing out and having that kind of vision, I mean that's just terrifying.
And it's frustrating when you see like or you go on Instagram or TikTok or wherever and you see a video and you see like a military vet or something, and he's telling his story of like, oh, I've seen aliens, or I've seen a ghost, or, you know, people with like respectable jobs and respectable careers are coming out and admitting this stuff. And then you look in the comments and it's just, yeah, whatever, ghosts aren't real. Oh yeah, don't believe it. Load of rubbish. And, and it's just, you'll find one comment amongst, say, every 10 that's like, oh, something similar happened to my auntie, or something similar.
Yeah.
Oh, I can relate to that. Yeah, and it's we're slowly getting there.
Slowly.
But there is, unfortunately, there is still that little bit of ridicule for people.
There is. Unfortunately, there is. But, you know, hopefully one day we'll get there. And, you know, if there is some kind of alien disclosure, or that, you know, they come down and introduce themselves, then hopefully people's minds will open up a little bit more.
Yeah.
Well, this one was actually on our Discord. Lauren, who has emailed us before, she was one of our first public emails. This isn't so much a story. This was kind of a request to look into, for us to look into a case. She says, I'm born and bred in Aldershot. The military hospital here has been off limits for as long as I can remember. It's always as creepy as hell. They've obviously developed it into houses now, but even when they were sold the first time, there were lots of tales in the town about homes being haunted by dead soldiers. I thought it might be interesting. And it is interesting. Aldershot Military Hospital. Now, I couldn't find enough on this to warrant doing a full episode, which is why I've put it into this episode as a request for it. But Aldershot Military Hospital was kind of like a massive, great manor house. And if ever there was a place that you'd just look at and go, yeah, that's haunted, Aldershot Military Hospital is one of those places. I mean, at home, look it up online. For the video, I might find a shot of it. But, you know, if you're listening to this as the audio version, you'll have to look for it. It is a very big, imposing building, you know, classic large windows, a bell tower on the
Bell
top.
tower.
Yeah.
Does it have big pillars at the front?
I think it does. Yeah. You can see it for miles around, you know,
Okay.
on the landscape. And even when it was open, apparently it was haunted by a grey lady.
Oh, yes.
The
We've
good old
touched
grey
on-
lady. Excuse me. She used to haunt the wards 10 to 14, apparently.
10 to 14.
But no one actually know who she is, whether she was a nurse that worked there or whether she was a patient or what. It's a complete mystery. But yeah, I mean, that was one that we thought we'd just have a look at. Like I said, there aren't really a hell of a lot there. They do still hold paranormal investigations there.
Okay.
You can go there overnight and see if you can find anything, that sort of thing. But as far as like stories go, there's not really that much to it. But I mean,
Maybe it's one of them kind of like local legends where like if you
I
lived
think it
there,
is,
grew
yeah.
up, you kind of heard the stories and stuff. But
yeah,
then-
I mean, it's kind of the same as Borley Rectory, as we covered as one of our earlier episodes. I mean, yeah, it did have the reputation as being the most haunted house in England,
Yeah.
and you knew of it from a young age because you grew up around here. I only heard it when I moved into the area, you know. So I mean, it might be another one of those where there's plenty of tales, but it's only between people who've maybe experienced that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But
Maybe if Lauren's got some stories or heard anything amongst the village, is it town, village? Maybe even city, who knows? Old shot, that sounds kind of cool to me.
yeah,
She can let us know. She might have a really good spooky story or something she's heard. Well, I've got an email.
oh
yeah.
yes, you do. You actually got one just today, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. So I'm going to shout out one of my best mates, Big T,
Tony,
Big Tone. So
we miss you, Tony.
he is an absolute legend, and we only know really nice people. We're friends with nice people, and Tony is literally probably
One of the
apart from-
nicest people, isn't he?
Yeah. Apart from my mate Sean, he is the nicest guy. Just a heart of gold, and bless him, he downloaded pretty much the same as Elliot. He's gone through.
That's the thing. Well, I remember when we first started this podcast, you tried to get Tony to listen to it. And he was like, "Oh, I don't know. I'm not really keen on like spooky stuff and paranormal." Like he said, "I'll give it a go. I will." And then he went off, and you kept asking, "Have you listened to any yet?" And he was like, "No, I'm going to next week though."
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until we did Truman Roswell, I think, that he
Yeah.
actually plucked up the courage to actually listen to the podcast, and he really enjoyed it, didn't he?
Yeah. And to be fair, since then he has been really supportive.
Yeah, he
really
has, yeah.
loving the show, and he's been giving me feedback, like positive, negatives, and constructive criticisms. He's given me examples of things that we can cover.
Yeah.
Leprechauns eventually we'll cover.
We'll put it on the list, Tony.
Yeah, we'll put it on the list just for you, mate. And but real solid guy, and he wrote in, and he said about, well, we'll put the pictures up, won't we?
Yeah, we'll put the pictures on the YouTube version. That's probably the only way you'll be able to actually see the pictures, but we can describe them.
Yeah. So he's just given a brief story of what happened. So essentially, I think it is the house that his dad grew up in with his siblings, and they went on Google Maps to have a look at the house. I'm assuming.
In Google Street View.
Yes,
Yeah.
Google Street View. And Tony's nan passed away in the early 80s. And when they went to the Google Street View, you can see, I've got a screenshot here.
And this was her house.
Her house.
Her address.
And-
we won't reveal.
No. She supposedly used to wait for the children to finish school
Yeah.
and go into the house, so Tony's dad and the siblings, and she used to wait at the window. And when they went on the Google Street View, there is a picture of what appears to be a lady staring out of the window, and it's got the exact same haircut.
It is,
and
yeah.
he sent me a picture of his nan. He has given us his blessing to use that picture of his nan as well.
That's
But,
very nice. Then.
yeah, you'll see the hair is exactly the same, and it does look like a woman.
It's
just
uncanny.
staring.
It's almost identical. The way that figure in the window looks so much like Tony's nan, and yeah, I really do not blame them for being a bit freaked out by seeing that.
And he also wrote in, going back to, I think we spoke, I think it was like the tarot cards and stuff. We were talking about spirituality. And Tony was someone who, he went into it not thinking, oh, this is really going to work or anything. And he saw a spiritualist. And I can't remember if he said about, it was one that used gemstones or like a necklace with a gem.
Oh, rune stones.
I'm sure he mentioned that. But anyway, he started talking about how this woman told him that, I won't say his ex's name, but this woman isn't good for you. You're in a new relationship. And Tony hadn't told anyone that he was like in a relationship.
Right.
He didn't even tell his parents or anything. He kept it to himself. And this woman just knew and was like, you've just got into a relationship and she's not good for you. Like, you need to get out of it. He didn't listen, and it did work out of the fact that she wasn't good.
Yeah.
And also, I'm pretty sure it's the same woman described his granddad, like down to a T as well, and said everything about his granddad, like feature-wise. And again, how would this woman know about
Some people do have the gift, mate. Some people do. Like I say, my mum had it slightly. My sister's got it a little bit, and there's various people in my family that have it. In fact, like my girlfriend works closely with a woman who, like, quite a few years ago, from a divorce or whatever, decided to take therapy, and she became very good friends with her therapist. And when the therapy ended, they continued just seeing each other, meeting up for coffee and just having a chat and that, like. And she because obviously she was divorced and that, met a new fella. They planned to move in and buy a house together. So she put her house up on the market for sale. And then a few months later, the relationship broke down. And they ended up not buying a house together, and she just took her house off the market. Her therapist friend rang her up the day after and said, "Are you all right?" And she was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Why?" And she said, "I had a dream that your house was falling down around you." The therapist has this sort of psychic medium ability. She does have that, and she knew about it before. That's why she became like a therapist, because she was very
in tune with
yeah.
So
I think some people do have that ability.
Do you know the craziest one that actually got proven? And I remember seeing this years ago. There was an air show with an aeroplane. I don't know if this rings any bells for you.
Yeah.
And there was that guy, it might be a girl, had a dream where the plane crashed, and they described it, and they tried telling the people who were running the show, like, something terrible is going to happen, this plane is going to crash, I've seen it, it's not like my normal dreams. And they, again, no, you don't know what you're talking about. Didn't listen. And it happened exactly how they said it would happen, the exact plane and everything. Yeah. And they then went on, I think, to become like a psychic medium, whatever you want to call it, spiritualist.
Oh, that's fair enough. But I mean, I don't know whether sometimes these things just happen once to people and then it never happens again, or whether if it does happen to you, it will sort of keep happening or whatever. I don't know about that, but well, from my personal experience, I used to see things quite a lot when I was little, but not so much now.
Yeah.
Although I do, even my brother says if something strange is going to happen, it'll happen to me.
Yeah, your brain does function at a different level.
Like thank you.
Even with the subliminal messages, when I tried to get you with that, and it's just, it just didn't work on you.
Well, you should have known better than to try and force me into thinking something. You should have just written down, I predict you'll think you'll say elephant, and then just done no clues
Yeah,
all the way through the episode.
Probably would have been better.
And then I would have gone, how the hell did you do that? And you would have gone,
Yeah. Well, while we're on the subject of emails and people that, well, for the people that listen and things,
Yeah.
I just want to also just give a little shout out to my mum. So
Yeah, why not?
She has actually started listening to the podcast. And a bit similar to Tony, where she thought, "Oh, it's too spooky."
I know
and
you
stuff.
said she listened to a couple of episodes while she was on holiday. Has she actually carried on listening to them?
Yeah, she's listened to every episode pretty much. And it's weird now, because now that I know that my mum listens, I'm trying to be a bit more like P's and Q's and stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas, and I shouldn't think that way, but now I'm like, oh, my mum's listening.
Right. Well,
now.
I'm just going to say, hello, Josh's mum. I was the strange guy dressed in a purple suit that you danced with at his wedding.
Yeah, she did say to me, I think, she said, I don't know who it was, but the guy who had a purple suit on had really good dance moves. I was dancing with him.
I wouldn't say that.
I was like, oh yeah, that's Pyro. It was like, yeah, credit to you as well, turning up to my wedding in an all purple suit.
Bright purple.
It was awesome. So when you walked through the door, I was like, yes, that is a man you want at your wedding. It was awesome.
Well, you know, I was hoping I wouldn't become the centre of attention because it was your day. But I mean, you did say that I could wear that purple suit.
Yeah, I requested it. I wanted it. You said you had a purple suit, and I was like, hell yeah, you need to wear that.
I do.
It was very Heath Ledger Jokerish, but in a.
I almost got a yellow waistcoat to go with it, but I thought, nah, it's going to be too Joker.
Yeah, oh, you should have done. It would have been awesome.
But anyway, if you at home have stories that you'd like to share with us and allow us to share with you, back to you, then please write in paranormality.uk@gmail.co.uk. Or you can find us. You can comment on the YouTube videos. You can find us on TikTok and Instagram. Send us a private message on there, or you can join our Discord. And we love more people on our Discord because we only got about a dozen or so people on there. Basically, the last time we made an episode like this, a whole bunch of people came and joined Discord, and then nobody's joined it since. So please do. And there will be benefits to that. You see, because like we're now only about a month away from our first anniversary, or when this episode goes out, it'll be a month away from our first anniversary. So, you know, we're now thinking we've done it. We've made that year. Yeah. Right. Now, I'm going to say some facts now that I've learned throughout this year of podcasting is that only 10% of podcasts actually make it to the 12-month mark.
Yeah.
A lot of people suffer from what they call pod fade, which is, I think, where, you know, maybe people don't get the amount of downloads that they're hoping for and they don't make a lot of money at it. We haven't made a penny at it so far. In fact, it's cost me a lot of money. But that is going to end sometime soon. Around our first year anniversary, we figure we've done 12 months free of charge for you guys, advert free and everything. And if podcasting is one of those ways that people can get rich and famous, why can't we do that?
Well, the podcast will still be free.
This podcast will still be free, yeah, but we are going to start activating adverts. We are going to create a Patreon account, and we are going to offer you a way through Patreon to still get it advert free. Because we didn't know if it was going to take off when we first started or not. So we vowed to do, if we could make it for the full year, we'd do it a full year, advert free, to make you guys know that we're not just money grabbing bastards. We're not doing it because we think we're going to get millionaires out of it. We're doing it because we love it and we've got a passion for this.
Yeah, it started off as a hobby.
Exactly, and now we see our little community of followers growing and growing, and we want it to grow, and we'd love this to be our full-time job one day. Obviously, that's going to be a little while before that happens, but with things like, I mean, adverts don't pay a lot, so, you know, hopefully merchandise will help us get a bit more claw a bit more money back, and the Patreon is going to be big help with that as well. So get ready, I suppose.
And if not, like we say, the podcast still will be free, but you'll have to put up with the odd annoying advert for 10, 15, 20 seconds at some point.
Yeah.
So.
The thing, you can't keep doing this. It costing us money. I mean, we enjoy it, and you know, hobbies do cost money, but you know, when there is that glimmer of like, you could be making money at this, it's like, well, we've done it for 12 months now. Come on, you know.
Yeah.
Give us a leg up.
But we're not begging.
No, we're not begging. Anyway, yeah, we're not going to cover that anymore until we do the live stream. So if you want to know more about that, then do come back and do come and join the live stream, because it's going to be a good old party. It's designed for you to be able to integrate with us in real time, tell us your stories, ask us questions, and we will give you the answers and feedback and whatnot there live in real time. It should be a real good fun thing to do. So yeah, on the 29th of December, probably around
December?
about not December, October, sorry. Yeah, 2 days before Halloween, the Sunday before Halloween, and it would probably be 2:00 in the afternoon.
Something around that,
Yeah.
Yeah, sometime in the afternoon.
I will put it on YouTube as I think it's called a premiere, where it comes up with it beforehand, so you can click on the link and wait for it to start.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
So I mean, even if we were running a little bit late, you could be there waiting for us.
But again, we wouldn't be where we are if it wasn't for the people listening.
Yeah,
so
it's all down to you guys that have actually, you know, helped us to reach this stage.
this is your fault. You're the reason we're having to put adverts.
Well, we didn't know whether it would just fizzle out in a few months when we first started it, and you know, we thought it could take off, or it could just be our friends and family that listen to the first few episodes, and then we get literally no downloads, and we just go, all right, sod that. But luckily, a series of events happened that we couldn't have foreseen, that just sort of managed to give us that little extra boost, and it gave us the motivation to carry on. And here we are, nearly 12 months later, and we're still doing it, and we still enjoy it. And we love to do more.
We want to continue doing it, don't we?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're not going anytime soon.
We're not. We're not. So, until next time, I've been Pirate.
I'm Josh.
This has been Paranormality UK. Ta-ta.
Ta-ta.